Welcome to Cosmic Diaries. This is Priya Kali, your astrologer, and welcome to the Leo new moon. We're in a powerful new moon cycle. This new moon was opposite Pluto, the planet of power and of change, and the winds of change are blowing strong. And there are powerful revelations coming through, and it's time to really drop the mask and step into our light and our own power in our lives. So I'm going to dive into the chart for the new moon and see how all of this is playing out for us. But of course, before I begin, a warm welcome to everybody who's here. Thank you so much for being here. And whether you're back or if you're new to the channel, I hope you stick around and I hope you subscribe. That way you'll be notified of more videos and it'll help me to get the word out. And with that said, it's no coincidence that you're here. For whatever reason, this message is finding you today. At the time of this Leo new moon, especially, Leo is the sign of the self, the individual, and the whole would not be whole without the sum of its parts. So if you get nothing from this video, above all, this is a call for you to really step into your authentic self, and for all of us to drop the mask and to just show up for our lives and to be present. So I'm trying to practice what I preach, and I'm here, and I hope you stick around and listen. So let's just get into this new moon chart. But we'll begin with the new moon is always, any new moon is a new cycle. So it's a new beginning. The sun is conjunct the moon, and this is a time to go inward, especially now. And then a new moon will generally seed the energy for at least 2 weeks at a time. And in this case, until the Aquarius full moon on the 17th of July. Sorry, what am I saying? Mercury has got my tongue. Until the 10th of August or 9th of August, sorry, 9th of August, Mercury. 9th of August, we have the full moon in Aquarius, and then 11th of August, Mercury stations direct. So that's a couple of weeks from now. But what's happening right now at the time of this Leo new moon is seeding the energy that will then come to light by the full moon. So pay attention to, what's been unfolding over the past few days, couple of days since the new moon on the 24th. I'm recording this on the 27th. Apologies, I'm a little late, but I've been super busy. This new moon was also in my 10th house. So I've been trying to get organized with work so I can bring you more videos. But pay attention to what's been going on since the 24th, because that's giving you a clue into, and look at what's been surfacing within you as well. With that new moon, it's a time to stay inwardly focused and inwardly connected to our intuition and our inner light, in this case with Leo. And I'm going to get into Leo in a minute. Also, this new moon was opposite Pluto, and Pluto is the planet of power and transformation. So there are deep changes unfolding right now in our psyche and in our world. And there's a need for us to absolutely show up as authentically as possible and to be honest, at least dare to be honest, at least with ourselves. The whole world need not know our business, but it's important that you're at least being honest with yourself. Then you can communicate and share information with those who matter and on a need to know basis. Mercury is currently retrograde in Leo, and we're in a process of revisiting conversations and information that we've learned since about the 30th of June. And we're understanding situations on a deeper level. We're getting to the heart of the matter. But right now, with this Leo new moon opposite Pluto the way it is, there could be very cryptic messages that are coming to the surface. So just be patient as more is revealed, because we're still in the dark. I mean, in this very womb of the new moon. Today, the moon is in Virgo as I record this, but I'm recording this for the Leo new moon energy, which again seeds the energy until at least the 10th of August. So, with Mercury retrograde right now, we're still in a process of revisiting conversations, learning information, and reaching a deeper understanding of situations and of our own heart and our own desires and our own selves. So, there's a need to really trust the process and believe in yourself now, whatever else is happening. It's time to really believe in yourself. So, let's talk about Leo. Leo is the sign that's ruled by the sun. It's a fixed fire sign. And in the northern hemisphere, this is the middle of the summer. In the southern hemisphere, this is the middle of the winter. When, you know, you, I mean, I haven't been to the southern hemisphere, but I'm imagining we're gathering around the fire and we need to rely on our inner warmth and our inner light in the midst of darkness. Similarly, now in the northern hemisphere, even if it's hot outside, where depending on where you are, at the time of the new moon in Leo, the sign of the sun, ruled by the sun, it's really a chance to reconnect with our inner consciousness and light. The sun in astrology represents our primary consciousness. But now, if we really think on a deeper, subtler, energetic level, and even spiritual level, this is divine consciousness. Leo is the sign that rules the heart, but it's also the sign on the shadow side that rules the ego. And the ego is what limits us to our identity and identifications of, okay, this is Priya, and I am so and so, I am this, I do this, that's that ego. Whereas consciousness, I mean, if you think of yourself, and I think of myself, who were you before you were born? And who am I beyond my name and all my worldly identifications? That's that pure consciousness that's alive within all of us, that oneness. And at this Leo new moon, if you haven't watched my Capricorn full moon video, I would definitely recommend you watch that, because this is the new moon after that Capricorn full moon cycle, and nothing happens in a vacuum, right? Life is happening cyclically and in progress. So that Capricorn full moon was Capricorn is a sign of history and time and the past and tradition. And a full moon will mark the end of the cycle. So over the past couple of weeks, we've been in a process of releasing ambitions and responsibilities and duties and even identities that we've outgrown. And what no longer, lessons from the past that we've learned, but we need not carry a bag of weight anymore. And this is not about, Capricorn speaks of worldly success, but now we're understanding as we enter this Leo new moon cycle, it's Leo is a sign of the self, and the whole would not be whole without the sum of its parts. So you're being called, you're here for a reason on this planet, and even here watching this video, nothing is a coincidence. You're here for a reason. There's a reason for whatever reason, you found this video, and you're supposed to get this message right now. But we're all being called to dare to really step out of the shadows and into the light and into our own power, and dare to be ourselves authentically without the need for validation or without being attached to any need for validation from anyone else for your existence. Only then can, the whole blossom. So as long as we're trying to please others, we're never going to be able to really step into the role that we're supposed only you can do or only I can do. So Leo calls for that sense of, to have that there's a need for that self-confidence. And with this new moon now getting into this chart, opposite Pluto. Pluto is that planet of power and change. So another thing to look at would be look at what was unfolding at the beginning of the year, around the 4th of January or the first week of the year, as well as at the end of April, because Mars was opposite Pluto at the beginning of the year and then at the end of April. And now the sun, this new moon is opposite Pluto. So there's something that was, starting to ignite back then. And later again in April, there's been a slow burn that's been happening. And now with the sun opposite Pluto, it's a continuation of that. And it's like this something that was a slow burn is now slowly igniting, and that flame is growing. It depends on, of course, how this is all playing out for you. But this is a story that's been in process and ongoing for a while now. And of course, with Mercury now retrograde and Uranus is newly in Gemini, Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, and Pluto is in Aquarius. Well, Pluto entered Aquarius November last year. And I need my glasses. I'm like blind without them now. But with this new moon at 2 degrees of Leo, even if you don't understand astrology, if you just look at this chart and you look at the degrees, these are outer planets that are all in the early degrees of the signs. And this new moon plugs into this alignment of planets. And this is a very rare and exciting alignment that we have here. And outer planets will speak of collective change and larger cycles. But when the sun and the moon, which are the two luminaries and represent our primary consciousness, and the moon will represent our inner emotional landscape and psyche and unconscious patterns, when these two are conjunct and plugged into this outer alignment, it's like we're really being called to well, how do I put it? Let me reframe that. We're really being called to our own life and mission, and again, to step into our own light and whatever you were born for. So there's a need to be spontaneous now. And with these planets in the early degrees of the sign, the other thing is we're entering very new territory. So Leo is a sign. Now let's talk about Leo for a second. Leo speaks of the present, the here and now, the eternal here and now. Think of it, I mean, it's again the sign that's ruled by the sun. The sun is always shining. Even when it's night, the sun is still shining on the other side of the earth. It's just our perspective that we can't see it. Even if there are clouds in the sky, the sun is still shining. That's that Leo energy, which is ever present. And even if we have those rainy days sometimes, the storms will pass. Ultimately, the sun will shine again, or we're going to see that, feel that again. So Leo speaks of that sense of joy that comes from the heart and inner happiness, which is again something that can only be found within. And it teaches us to stay in the present, which again does not mean that we won't have sadness and sorrows and challenges in our life, but it's about reminding ourselves to come back to ourselves. Leo rules the self, the individual. It's a sign of romance and true love and creativity. It's very creative energy, very sexual energy. It's also the energy of youth and adolescence and, being young and having fun and being spontaneous and being able to take risks. Think of cats. Leo is ruled by the lion, which is a big cat. But think of cats. They, you know, they have 9 lives because, I mean, they can land on their feet, whatever the situation. I mean, whatever height they jump from. But that's a very Leo uh, ability to be able to take that risk and land on their feet somehow. And that requires absolute presence in the moment. So these themes are being highlighted, and pay attention to where you have Leo in your chart. And you can easily find your chart on astro.com, astro.com, for free. You can just put in your birth data and find it. It's useful information to have. Even if you don't understand astrology, you can follow it. It's easy enough. So if you put that in, you can just, they have all the resources. Figure out where Leo falls in your chart, and you can apply all of what I'm saying to matters of that house. Or of course, you can write to me for a consultation. My links are below. But wherever this new moon is taking place for you, this is where you have a new cycle beginning now. And with this new moon opposite Pluto, Pluto is the planet of change. So there's very much a sense of us having to drop the mask. And on the shadow side, at best, Leo can be that energy that's absolutely confident. And, as teenagers can be, you know, where they're just expressing themselves fully. And Leo is that bold, dramatic energy that wants to express itself. But then life happens. And how do we not allow age to make us old? We're only old when we stop learning and we stop having fun. And when we close our hearts to life and to the possibilities. Because that Leo is that very creative energy. And it reminds us that every moment is a new moment to live, love, laugh, and create again. And in opposition to this Pluto, there's a sense that, we're entering very new territory. And in some cases, it may feel like, I don't know why the word dangerous is coming to mind right now, but I'm going to say it. It feels dangerous. It feels risky. And it's like, okay, how much of myself can I show? And that's a process that's underway right now, which is it safe for me to be myself? And we're reclaiming that power to be sovereign, whatever the past has been like, because we've all been through, depending on how old you are, we've all had our share of life experiences, and they've shaped us into who we are today. And Leo is the energy that also speaks of, you have every reason to feel proud of who you are. And if there are things that you're not so proud of, this is an opportunity to evolve and to change, because Pluto speaks of this process of evolution. So, and with an opposition, with this new moon opposite Pluto, it's like we're confronting our demons, and we're confronting our attachments, and we're confronting our desires, and we're surrendering, which doesn't mean that, you can't have what you want. In fact, this energy is really powerfully magnetic, where you can absolutely have exactly what you want. But then, do you know what's good for you? So it's more about us acknowledging what we want and then surrendering it to the universe. And if something is right for you, it will show up. But that said, if you acknowledge what you want, then, if your words and your actions need to align if you want something to happen. Because or we're just going to keep, going around in the same circles. But coming back, Leo really is a sign of the self, which is about being, and it's asking us to be ourselves, and that to dare to be ourselves, and to dare to be authentic and show up as authentically with an open heart as much as possible. And that requires courage, and it requires vulnerability. And but vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. So it also means acknowledging again where we're not perfect, but we are loved by the universe. We're absolutely loved. And this is a process of purification. again, on the shadow side, Leo speaks of the ego. And with this new moon opposite Pluto, it's like we're going through this process of ego death on a deep inner level. And only then can the true light of consciousness shine through, when we're not caught up with ideas of how we think things are or should be, or how we think we should be, but we're just a being. And we're being that's not license for bad behavior, but we're being our best selves, or we're at least trying to be our best selves, and we're showing up with as much self awareness as possible. And then there's recognizing there's always room for evolution. So we're evolving powerfully right now. It's important that you allow yourself space, as well as others around you space, to evolve. Acknowledge what you want, and then, you know, align with it. Then you can create an external reality that matches your inner reality. Mars now is currently in this chart, past the South Node and in Virgo. So this is also the process of, getting aligned with our actions, and we're planning our next steps forward. But again, there's a process right now of us learning deeper information and getting to the heart of a matter. So over the next couple of weeks, as we move to the full moon, certainly there's a lot more information that's coming to light, that's, showing us the next steps that we need to take. Mars will enter Libra on the 6th of August. And once Mars enters Libra, that's going to shift the energy where our relationships are going to be more in focus. Venus is going to enter Cancer on the 30th of July. And once Venus enters Cancer, also the energy shifts and life gets a little sweeter. Venus in Gemini can be tricky energy. It's not, nothing's bad energy, but with Venus in Gemini, the focus has been on communication. Once Venus enters Cancer, we're going to be focused more, especially in our relationships and financial matters, on matters of security and, deeper comfort. And we're going to be in our feelings a lot more, which is, when it comes to matters of the heart, it'll be a lot easier for us to share our feelings and express our emotions. But for now, with this Leo new moon, so anyway, sorry, I had to stop there for a second, but I'll get into the Mars and Venus transits in the live meetup. So I hope you'll join me there or watch the replay. But Leo energy really is about, that passionate sense of being alive and having fun. And a new moon is new beginnings, but it's about what we're putting out in the world. So if you're putting love out in the world, that's what you're going to get back, reflected back to you. And this is, Leo energy is bold. It likes to be the center of attention. It likes to be, dramatic and show up. So dare to be yourself, and you don't need to hide your light. But at the same time, there's a need for that self-awareness of, you know, asking yourself, am I doing this for attention, or am I doing this because I truly feel like expressing myself in this way? So that level of inner awareness, especially as you enter this new moon, is important, in terms of we're becoming aware of our unconscious patterns of why we are the way we are, and the parts of ourselves that are, now we're outgrowing, or patterns that we've learned and that we need to unlearn, or perhaps the ways that we've been hiding ourselves that we needn't continue to anymore. And this will take courage. Again, this is this inner process that's unfolding. When it comes to creativity, it's not just, yes, creative projects, but it's also, how you're creating your life. So what are you creating in your life? And more importantly, what's already been created, and how are you now realigning with yourself and as you are today. And ask yourself if the life you've created aligns with that inner truth and inner self, who you are and today, because you're not who you were even a month ago, let alone a year or years ago. So this is a process of realignment with ourselves. And Leo speaks of again, that eternal here and now. So all through Leo season is, and certainly through the next couple of weeks, periodically, check in with yourself from time to time, maybe several times a day, about who you are, where you're at, and how you're feeling. And if you're really listening to your heart, because Leo rules the heart and it's time to lead with the heart. So, this is an internal process that we're going to have to do, and we're purging and confronting those demons and the shadows that keep us caged in our false selves and masks that we wear. So, it's about letting go of any fears of rejection or not being accepted, and again, there's those needs for validation. As long as we have no expectations for others and we're leading with love and from the heart, then there's nothing really to fear. Leo speaks of the heart, and it speaks of, if you think of the tarot, it's the card that rules, the strength card. And true strength is of the heart, not of the body or mind. So it's about tapping into that courage of the heart as we move through the next couple of weeks, and in daring to be authentic in ourselves, and then trusting, especially if Leo, if we're talking about love, we're learning the power of love to to transform our lives even. And to truly love requires courage. So it's not about what we're receiving, but what we're putting out and what we're giving. Love is a state of our being, it's a state of consciousness. It's not something we need from anyone else, or we even give to anyone else. We share our entire being, and that is love in reality, in terms of energy. That's the energy of the universe. Love does make the world go round. And with this new moon opposite Pluto, it's like love can break down, or rather transcend, time and space. So your courage to be exactly who you are. I mean, if Leo speaks of the individual now on another level, as we're with our ability to drop the mask and to step in to our light and consciousness authentically, we are, oh, I hope, yeah, okay, I hope you didn't see that. It's just my notifications. In our ability to do that, you're going to encourage and inspire everyone around you to do the same in their own life. So don't underestimate your power to be the force of change that you want to see in your world. You can't change anyone else. We can't change anybody else, but change always comes from inside out. So this new cycle is really asking us to, there's a sense of having to, Pluto speaks of death and resurrection. So something has to die before there can be a rebirth. And we're rebirthing into our true selves and into who we are today and who we're becoming. And this is a process that, let go of any power struggles, external power struggles, if at all, that are arising, and stay inwardly connected. Then you can magnetize whatever else you need to you. Because again, this new moon is plugged into all of these planets, and it's like the doors are opening, opportunities are coming through, we're seeing new ways forward. But even if a door opens, this new moon was trying Saturn and Neptune, even if a door opens, we still have to step over the threshold, and take that first step. So with Leo, first it starts with acknowledging what you want, your desires, without the attachment of the fulfillment of those desires. the way I pray to God, I tend to say, God, you know what's best for me. Either fulfill my desires or take them away. And it seems to work pretty well for me. So I'm just sharing that with you. It's like we don't know what's good for us. What if whatever we want externally, we want because we think it'll make us happy. And in reality, happiness comes from within, and everything external is transient. Even the people that love us the most will one day die. We will die. So, but love remains, and love is eternal and immortal and infinite. So, if Pluto is planet of death and resurrection, it's like our hearts are being purified, and you know we're going to have to let go of our ego. But if we can surrender our ego, then we can allow space for a transformation and for love to truly blossom and shine. And so when it comes to your relationships, whether personal, business, whatever, well, certainly love and romantic relationships, with Mercury currently retrograde, if there are any exes resurfacing, it's generally a time for closure and a time to find closure on the past and let it go, rather than reignite something. If something didn't work out the first time, there's a reason for it. But for things that have, relationships, that existing relationships, and perhaps connections that have been ongoing for a while or haven't fully yet formed, whatever, you're in the talking stage. With Mercury retrograde, this is really a chance to reach a deeper understanding with another. And this, again, that begins with getting a deeper understanding of our own hearts and where we are today. Because then once Venus and Mars change signs, we're going to enter a new sign. Right now, Venus and Mars are both ruled by Mercury. So, and then Mercury is in Leo, ruled by this new moon. And that's why I'm talking about it right now. Mercury is the planet of communication, the mind. And with actually, this is something I want to talk about in Uranus and Gemini, but it's almost like there's we're having telepathic communication, psychic communication, heart to heart communication, non-verbal communication, as much as we're communicating directly. But still, nothing replaces that direct, honest heart to heart, right? So, where possible, I would certainly encourage that, being able to actually sit down and talk to someone. But if that's not possible, or for whatever reason, you can't deny that there is this psychic and heart to heart and telepathic communication that's happening right now. At least listen to what's coming through for yourself rather than projecting or trying to understand. Before you try to understand what someone else is feeling, figure out how you're feeling. Then it'll be easier to find harmony with others and get on the same page with others. And then when the moment is right, have those honest conversations. So listen to your heart right now and lead with the heart and lean into the heart. And when in doubt, lean into love, because that's the safe zone. It's when we stray away from our hearts that we're stepping into dangerous territory, really. And the heart does not, again, the sun, if you think of the sun, the ruler of Leo, the sun shines. It does not it does not care if anybody thanks it or not, or prays to it or not, or the sun is just shining. Similarly with Leo season, it's like, dare to be yourself, dare to show up, shine. It is a time for dramatic gestures, and there could be bold revelations coming through, and things, secrets that were hidden, that are coming to light. And there really is a sense of, there's nowhere to hide. We're being drawn out of the shadows, and pulled out of our own limitations, because Pluto says change or die. So things can't continue the way they have been. And there is that need for evolution. And this is happening. Ultimately, life happens through us. And that's why, the sun in Leo will, that primary divine consciousness that's alive within us. It's like we don't even control our own heartbeat. We don't know how long we have here on this planet, on this physical plane. So every moment is precious, and every moment needs to be cherished and enjoyed. And if we knew we had only a few moments on earth, we would all be calling the people we love or running to the people we love. So that itself should tell us all something. And what's happening out in the world, I will continue to hold the vision for peace. And I would encourage, I mean, I don't think I need to tell you that, but the reason I'm saying it is because it can be very easy to, and this is probably a separate video and conversation, but it's time to stop looking at other people's flaws. We're flawed enough ourselves. There's enough work to be done internally in us purifying our own selves and our own, ego. And if we could only, again, I keep coming back to that, all spiritual teachings will teach us, if our self-realization is the greatest service we can do for humanity. So at the time of this new moon opposite Pluto, it's like we're being called to step into our superpower. You were born for a reason, you're here for a reason, and the universe needs you. And only you can do what you can do. And the thing is, we get caught up in this idea of success and fame, and especially in today's time with social media, and everyone wants to be famous. But you could be famous for murdering someone, you could be famous for doing a lot of good in the world. What do you want to be famous for, first of all? And who says fame is gives you happiness? you know we all know that the two don't necessarily equate. So that happiness comes from within. So with this Leo new moon opposite Pluto, you could be, going about your daily life and making people happy. And that counts for a whole lot more in terms of you doing your purpose on this planet just by being yourself. And I'm not saying being happy by even doing good deeds, but if you're a generally happy, content person, then you're a joy to be around, which is a lot more than we can say about a lot of people, right? So, and I'm not saying that to point fingers, but I'm saying that we're also, everybody is so caught up and wound up with the stresses of modern life that it can be easy to, you know, lose that sense of joy and touch with our inner child and our ability to just be spontaneous and have fun. So I'm not saying this in a way to blame or shame anyone or myself, or, it's time to let go of all of that. And of course, there will be days when we're not having the best day. That's okay. But at least then we're able to take care of ourselves in that time rather than taking it out on others. That much self awareness is needed. And then when it comes to anything that you're creating or even in your relationships, this is about you showing up with your heart as authentically as possible, and then trusting that everything else will, you know, you'll magnetize the right connections and what you need. And of course, this is true in terms of manifestation at any given point. But certainly right now, with this new moon sextile Uranus, trine Saturn and Neptune, and I've actually written horoscopes for Saturn and Neptune that are short but powerful, and they cover the energy for the next 2 years. And they're all 12 signs. It's a 12-page PDF. I'll leave a link below, but do get that and let me know what you think. And pin it up on your fridge. So you can take a look at it every once in a while. But it's like we're really being called to step into our magic and to step into our own sense of purpose and find, you don't need anyone's permission to be yourself, but you do have a duty to be your best self to yourself so you can be happy and live your best life. And the universe is supporting our efforts right now. It's just also calling us to face up to our own stuff and confront our own darkness and shadows so that we don't need to feel caged by them anymore. And we can actually feel free enough to be ourselves and then show up with that level of authenticity in our connections and our work and at home or in our friendships and in whatever aspect of our lives. And really, anything that stops us from being ourselves is the fear of either rejection or not being accepted or not being loved. But it starts again with that self love and self confidence and understanding that, even if you don't understand all the reasons right now, but you're here for a reason. And if you can even just follow your heart in terms of what makes you happy rather than overthink things right now, then one moment will lead to the next, and happiness will only lead to happiness. So that's a simplistic way of putting it, but that's what's coming to me right now. But this is a passionate, powerful, creative, sexual, romantic new cycle, and the energy is smoldering. Don't underestimate your power to bring about a change where you need it, but that change comes from inside out. So look at what you're releasing now as you renew and step into who you are, who you've become, and you let go of, old patterns and the need for validation from anyone else. Then you can truly step into your own power and light and really magnetize and draw whatever you want to you. But it's just that daring to be really honest with yourself and daring to look at your own darkness honestly so you can purge it. And really, with darkness, it does not exist where there's light. You can't introduce darkness in a bright room, but you can introduce light in a dark room. And that light is your consciousness and our awareness and this light of the heart. So, and that power of love. So, in any situation that's fraught or seems to be fraught with tension, or if there's a power struggle, love is the answer. Whatever the question, love is the answer. So, I think and yeah, we're about to learn the power of love to make the world go around, whatever that means and however that plays out. So, anyway, I'm going to stop here for now, but do let me know what you think and if this resonated and how things play out for you. And do, of course, sign up again if you haven't already. So you'll be notified of new videos. And yeah, I'll leave links below so you can contact me and reach out to me for anything else. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I'm wishing you a very happy Leo new moon cycle again. I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say, and I'll be back with more very soon. Bye for now. And yeah, again, I'm recording the 12 horoscopes for Leo season in the live live Zoom meetup in a couple of hours. So if you don't, on Sunday, 27th of July at 1:30 p.m., the link will be below. You can join on Substack. And what was I going to say? Yeah, if you can't attend it live, then there'll be a replay. So I'll leave a link for that as well once it's updated. But thanks again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll be back very soon. Enjoy your Leo season.